Something went very wrong with Republican Senator Ron Johnson during the Fauci hearing yesterday. Ron Johnson claimed that people supposedly injured by COVID vaccines are committing what he describes as mass suicide. And now you might say, I haven't heard about that. That sounds weird to me. Does he have any evidence? Good questions. Let's listen to what Ron Johnson had to say about this.
We haven't acknowledged these injection injuries. These people can't get treatment. They're being gaslit by their doctors. So it's all in your head. The rate of the injection injured of suicides is increasing because they've given up hope, because our medical establishment and federal health agencies completely failed them, failing to acknowledge it. So again,
is he actively suffering from RFK Jr.'s brainworms or something like that? Like, what on earth is Ron Johnson talking about? He uses that phrase injection injured, which is highly emotionally salient, but it sort of means nothing. And it's the newest euphemism in anti-vaccine circles. And then he goes, people are committing mass suicide. It's like the People's Temple and Jim Jones, except, by the way, though, that was really a murder-suicide, so maybe not the right analogy, but not merely I heard of one person. He goes, there is mass suicide happening among the vaccine injured. And he describes it like a wave of deaths. Now, I hate to ask such a quaint question, but do we have any evidence of that? How many people? Over what period of time, compared to what baseline of suicides? How was vaccine injury established? How was causation determined? What study documented the mass suicide event? Johnson provides none of it because it's not a scientific claim. It's this mishmash of emotionally loaded words that are just designed to frighten people. That's what they want to do. I write in my forthcoming book, Pay Attention. Have I mentioned I wrote this book and it's coming out soon? I write about the emotional load that the right is so good at adding to every issue. And it could be a scapegoat. It could be a villain. It could be fear of something. And in this case, if you acknowledge reality, it's pretty damn boring, which is vaccines can cause adverse reactions. They're overwhelmingly mild, like my arm hurts or I have a headache. I feel a little flu-like for 12 to 24 hours. Any medical intervention you do carries some risk. And there are rare, serious vaccine reactions, which should be studied, treated. People should be compensated where appropriate, and there is such a fund to compensate people, but it is extraordinarily rare. Now, that doesn't transform every health problem that happens after vaccination into a vaccine injury. Remember that early on in the vaccination campaign for COVID, there were Republicans coming out and going, look at all these people who died after the vaccine. Some of them were 88 and died 6 months after the vaccine. That has nothing to do with the vaccine. And it certainly doesn't establish this outrageous claim of mass suicide by the injection injured. There was a time in American society where if you made such a baseless and outrageous claim, you were sort of laughed out of the room. You weren't treated as a serious person. And all of a sudden, they are treating this like, oh my God, this means that we've got to drag Fauci in here and swear at him. Now, the basic distinction, and we've talked a lot about conspiracy theorists and what counts as evidence for or against. The basic distinction that conspiracy theorists erase is that something that happened after an event doesn't prove that it happened because of that event. Hundreds of millions of people receive COVID vaccines. And within any group that large and that diverse in terms of health background and age, people will subsequently have heart attacks. People will subsequently get cancer or be diagnosed with depression. Some will get into car accidents. There will be tragedies because it's a very large group of people. If you're going to establish causation from the vaccine, you need controlled data, you need comparison groups, you need medical research. But Ron Johnson doesn't give a damn about that. Hey, quickly, have you been seeing less of me on your YouTube feed? You would not be the first to say so. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube to ensure you don't miss a thing. Back to the clip. He wants to clip farm and to get himself out in front of Dr. Fauci and go, the vaccine injured have committed mass suicide. And this is his identity. Years promoting COVID misinformation and treating these fringe speculations as though these are the facts and they are suppressing them. And during the hearing, he referred to vaccines as experimental gene therapy. Insanely misleading phrase. And now he's escalating to this wave of vaccine related suicides while presenting no evidence that such a thing exists. Tucker Carlson presented without evidence the idea that millions have died from the COVID vaccine. What's that guy's? There's the two brothers, Brent Weinstein, I think they say, who said millions have died from the COVID vaccine. What are you talking about? Now, this is a United States senator with staff, subpoena power because Republicans are in power right now. He could speak to experts. He could request legitimate research. If there were credible evidence of a mass suicide crisis among the so-called vaccine injured, we would have some data and we would be able to demand a serious investigation. Instead, he just blurts out this insane accusation and he moves along, and he knows that the phrase is going to circulate. The anti-vaxxers are going to look at it like disaster porn, and nobody's going to ask for proof. And this is really the point. Why did Republicans organize this hearing? Did they want to learn about Dr. Fauci's logic and saying X and not Y? No. Did they want to learn about vaccination? They wanted to generate clips supporting conclusions that they reached years ago, which are that Fauci's really evil and vaccines are poison and every pandemic grievance is a Democrat's fault, even though most of this stuff happened when Trump was president during his first term. So it's such an incoherent performance from Johnson that saying it's brainworms is almost like a generous interpretation because we're just laughing it off. The less charitable one is he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly who he's triggering with this nonsense. He's doing it on purpose in the same way that Trump talked about, let's go to the Capitol on January 6th, knowing how people would react. I don't respect it. It's disgusting. It's irresponsible. And it's the last thing that we need right now. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video and don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.